On the night that I had my first cancer scare, I called my boyfriend, at the time, the love of my life, up on the phone. And I'd been very sick in the past, so it wasn't exactly a surprise. But it was a surprise to me, and it was the night before Valentine's Day. And I was so excited for him to come back from a trip he'd been on, and there was this very long pause. And I figured, he's processing, he's thinking this through like I have been all day, and I wait. It goes on for a few more minutes. And finally he speaks. He goes, "So does this mean you didn't get the IUD in today?" Because that day I had been going to the doctor because I was supposed to get an IUD, birth control, because he really hated having sex with condoms. And he had decided that this was the perfect way to solve our problem and that I owed this to him. So I'm sitting there on the floor of my bedroom crying my eyes out, and I hear him say, "You owed this to me." And there's this other really long pause, and it just goes on forever, like it is the longest pause in the entire world. And I hear him say, "I really don't think this is working out." And I'm sitting there, and suddenly this thing that was about my cancer scare and my health is me begging on the floor for him not to leave me and telling him that I need him and that I'm sorry. That I was sorry, and there was nothing I could say to convince him, and he hangs up the phone on me. I text him every day for about 2 weeks and never responds to anything. And, there were red signs the entire relationship. I remember he had these rules, as if dating him was some sort of gift that he was giving me. For example, when we were in public, he had this rule that you had to walk one step behind him all the time. And then there'd be punishments if this didn't work out. And at the time, I was stupid, and I thought this was some sort of real relationship that he was looking out for me, but that's not what it was. And in the months afterwards, I found myself increasingly getting myself into situations that I shouldn't have been in. I found myself feeling like I was worthless, like I needed a guy to tell me what I needed, and to tell me that everything was okay and that I was loved and that what I was doing was right. And one night I found myself in the hospital with 3 broken ribs and a huge gash down my entire back that required 10 stitches. Because I had let this guy just use me like I was worthless, because at that point I felt like my happiness was owed to everyone except myself. And I remember sitting there, and the doctor comes in and he asks, "Who did this to you? What happened?" And I remember very vividly thinking, if I tell this doctor what happened, this guy's going to go to jail, and that will be my fault. And I'll owe him for doing that. So I remember very vividly I said, "I fell." And he said, "Are you sure you fell?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure. I fell down the stairs, and that's what happened." So I left the hospital. There's another night where I found myself in the bushes after having rough sex with this man I met and had never met before in my entire life. I had this bruise coming up on the left side of my face. And I looked up at the stars. I thought, what am I doing here? And I remember this night with the guy that left me on Valentine's Day, where he called me up on the phone and he said, "My parents moved my Legos in my basement, and I'm going to burn their house down." And I remember sitting on the phone with this asshole who was having a fit over Legos and who clearly never thought anything about me, and telling him it would be all right. And that night he lit a chicken on fire, which tells you about how mature he was. And I thought, that is not what I want to be or who I want to be, and I started laughing right there in the bushes with one eye looking up at the stars. And I never really got to tell him how I felt, but I think I owe him. I owe him for teaching me that I am not a commodity. I am a woman, and I am proud to be the person that I am and the person that I will become. I owe him for teaching me to be strong, to move on, and to trust myself. You know what? I don't think it would have worked out anyway.